No one should be able to steal that much money while following almost all the rules. Or else, somewhere, it's not the right rules that are being applied. David Ghantt grips a wad of bills so thick he can barely fold it. He knows how to count other people's money. That night, he decides to steal it. David Ghantt is a guard and vault room supervisor at Loomis Fargo in Charlotte. His badge opens armored doors. His hands handle mountains of cash every day. On the control screens, he sees the cameras filming him, and no one else. The depot closes. Co-workers leave. He stays. His keys, his codes, his total access. The system is built to resist everything, except him. He moves forward in a frame that seems to stand on its own. For months, David has been talking often with Kelly Campbell, a former co-worker who left Loomis but not really Charlotte. On the phone, Kelly mentions a friend, Steve Chambers, who understands numbers. In 1997, they start to sketch out something more than a former colleague's chat. One evening, in an ordinary living room in North Carolina, David watches a training video on closing procedures. He knows exactly at what moment the cameras keep recording, but no one is really watching anymore. Kelly keeps repeating that Steve can organize the rest, store the money, handle the cars, the hiding places. The anomaly isn't the system's flaw. It's that the system is practically reaching out to him. The plan gains substance. Hypothesis A, reassuring. You might think it all starts with individual weakness. A single employee, David Ghantt, tired of his salary, impressed by figures that don't belong to him, drawn in by two acquaintances bolder than he is. The explanation holds together neatly. A friendship with Kelly Campbell that continues after her departure from Loomis. Calls, confidences, mention of a crazy plan. Then, Steve Chambers enters the picture, introduced as the one who knows how to hide the money, how to make it disappear. In this version, the rest is almost mechanical. David has the codes, the access, and the routine. Steve has the ideas. Kelly makes the connection. 3 people, 1 armored depot, 1 opportunity. A personal slide, simple, almost classic. This hypothesis collapses the second you look at what Loomis allowed to be possible. Once the vault room door was closed, no system prevented a single authorized man from finding himself alone with millions of dollars in cash, physically stacked, with no immediate cross-check. The vertigo comes from that too. Hypothesis B, complex. You can then imagine a subtler scheme. David would be just a pawn, trapped by a more structured outside duo. Steve Chambers, with no professional link to Loomis, ends up at the center. He has Kelly, her contacts, her ability to put David at ease. He has time to think through the plan, to spot the weaknesses. The vault room is no longer the heart of the affair. It's just the gateway. The real center would be what happens outside. The storage units rented in advance. The vehicles prepared. The accomplices ready to load the bags. The future houses, cars, discrete bank accounts. In this hypothesis, David would be just the naive executor, the useful idiot who pushes the button. The brain would be elsewhere, structured, almost professional. Everything flips when you look at what happens next. The brain starts burning through the money in the most conspicuous way possible, turning the heist into a gigantic neon sign for the FBI. The people supposedly behind all the planning behave as if the money were already won, as if the investigation didn't exist, as if the risk were theoretical. Hypothesis C, disturbing. There is another, more troubling angle. What if this heist was neither the story of a weak employee nor that of an external criminal mastermind, but the meeting between an internal flaw and an illusion of total control over the stolen money? Money would then not be a goal, but a drug. The plan would never have been truly solid. It would only have seemed easy enough for everyone to believe in it. One blind spot remains. What if what ended well was not what they thought they were pulling off, but what the system managed to recover from them? On the night of October 4th, the Loomis Fargo depot in Charlotte looks like any other industrial zone building. Outside, the parking lot's empty. Inside, rooms shut down one by one. Metal shutters, heavy locks, fluorescent lights going out. You can still hear the distant clink of coins being counted, then nothing. David stays in the vault room. It's his job. No one finds that strange. He checks bags, handles tubs of bills, looks over forms. Everything is filmed by cameras that run continuously. Time dilates. The wall is not the concrete that surrounds it. It is the silent certainty that no one, at that precise moment, is questioning the fact that one man alone has access to so much money. Procedures require an employee responsible for closing. That's him. Criminal record checks have already been done. He has passed the filters. The armored trucks have finished their rounds. The money comes back, piles up, gets stored in combination safes, in wire mesh cages, in coded bins. The exact figures are on screens and reports. Trust, however, is written nowhere, but it envelops everything. When David begins loading the bags into a Loomis vehicle, the cameras record his every movement. He lifts heavy bags, marked with the names of banks, businesses, ATMs. The effort is real. The straps bite into his fingers. His shirt sticks to his skin under the harsh heat of the neon lights. He is not a masked robber. He is an employee in uniform, in his normal environment, using exactly the tools his employer has given him. The wall is this. The systems are designed to stop someone from the outside, a stranger, a visible threat. But inside, everything rests on the implicit idea that a badge, a position, a clean history are enough to guarantee that a person will never cross that invisible line. There is no lock against the moment when this tacit pact breaks. In the loading area, David drives a Loomis vehicle, as usual. He does not force any barrier. He does not hold anyone at gunpoint. He does not shout. He does not shoot. The doors close behind him with the same dull sound as every other night. Outside, Steve Chambers and his accomplices are waiting. Cars, a storage space rented in the area, extra hands to carry the bags. Nothing looks spectacular. They are just ordinary people handling bags of money, out of sight. Nothing moves on the surface. Inside the depot, no one yet knows that $17.3 million are leaving the vault. The lines of defense are frozen in the day that has passed. Armored doors, guns, protocols. But the threat is no longer there. It is driving on the road in a company truck. The painful detail is what remains behind. A chair turned toward the surveillance monitors, empty. The post that should have embodied constant vigilance stands abandoned, screen after screen, filming a theft that no one is watching live. It is only later, when the depot has to resume its activity, that the absence appears. A missing truck, missing bags, an employee nowhere to be found. Only then are the images rewound. This shift in time, just a few hours, creates a huge gap. Between the moment when David methodically loads the bags and the moment when someone finally understands what has happened, the money has already disappeared into garages, storage units, improvised hiding places. It is not a spectacular breach. It is a prolonged silence. The wall is this shared belief that a security system is solid because it is armored, armed, filmed. Here, all of that worked. The doors were closed, the guns put away, the cameras active, the procedures followed. What was missing was a single thing, invisible and impossible to automate. The possibility that the danger would come precisely from the person to whom the key had been entrusted. That night, the wall does not fall. It reveals itself in negative space, when one realizes that it never protected against the person who carried it from the inside. FBI investigators and cash security specialists agree on one point. This theft would not have been possible without David Gantt's legitimate and in-depth access to Loomis Fargo's internal procedures. In their analyses, some emphasize the responsibility of the corporate culture, which seemed to favor trust and the speed of cash processing over systematic control of risky behavior, even among the best-rated employees. When asked what they refuse to consider, many quickly slip. They fear that fully acknowledging this type of internal vulnerability would force the entire sector to admit that no protocol, however sophisticated, truly protects against an employee who decides on a given day to turn the system against himself. The conclusion remains uncomfortable. The day after the robbery, the reverse mechanism starts up. At the Charlotte depot, they discovered David's absence, the missing vehicle, the missing millions. The supervisors check the lists, redo the counts, then turn to the video surveillance. On the screens, the scene is crystal clear. David loading the bags, David closing the truck, David driving away. There is no doubt about the material perpetrator. The investigation immediately takes on a federal dimension. The FBI officially enters the case. A wanted notice is issued, with his name, his face, his position at Loomis. While his picture is circulating, David is no longer in Charlotte. The plan laid out with Kelly Campbell and Steve Chambers sends him to Mexico with a limited amount of cash. The rest has to stay here, under Chambers' control, in storage units, hiding places, safes. On paper, everything is clear. David keeps a low profile. Chambers manages the money. Kelly maintains contact. What David believed at that moment was that he had secured his escape route. He imagines himself in Mexico, relatively protected, with the promise of regular wire transfers or cash drops sent from the United States. He thinks his accomplices will lie low, spread out their spending, not attract attention. The illusion will not last long. Time passes. In Charlotte, FBI agents start by mapping David's circle of contacts. His employee file mentions Kelly Campbell, former colleague, close to him. She is questioned. Her answers raise doubts. The frequency of her recent contacts with David, her ties to Steve Chambers, draw attention. Testimony, invoices, and phone records are cross-checked. Meanwhile, Steve and his entourage start spending. Expensive houses, new vehicles, flashy purchases, bank accounts filling up without any credible justification. Witnesses, neighbors, shopkeepers, notice the sudden change in standard of living after the heist. Money flows linked to Chambers gradually emerge. Each ostentatious expense turns what was supposed to remain hidden into a brightly lit trail for investigators. The plan that was supposed to give David a discreet escape thus becomes a bundle of clues. Money transfers to Mexico through different channels are monitored and traced. Calls between David, Kelly, and Chambers, intercepted or analyzed, confirm the coordination. The cash stashes are located, storage spaces rented by Chambers, residences, safes. The Loomis money, with its bands and its traces, leads back to them. The good in this story is not a triumphant ending for the robbers. It looks more like a methodical catching up. Steve Chambers is arrested in North Carolina, along with several accomplices, in early 1998. Kelly Campbell is then implicated and arrested. Some agree to cooperate partially, providing details on the planning and the division of the loot. In Mexico, David's run comes to an end when the local authorities, informed by the FBI, locate him, arrest him, and extradite him. Facing federal justice, the story solidifies. Prosecutors reconstruct the timeline. The discussions in 1997. Kelly's role as intermediary, David's role as the inside man, Chambers' role as outside organizer and money manager. Videos, wiretaps, purchase contracts, testimony from agents and Loomis employees lock the case in. The indictments fall: conspiracy, theft of funds, money laundering, associated offenses. David, Kelly, Michelle Chambers, Steve Chambers, and other accomplices find themselves lined up before the federal court in Charlotte. Strategies diverge, but many end up pleading guilty to certain counts to reduce their sentences. David acknowledges his role in the theft. Kelly acknowledges her involvement in the conspiracy. Michelle Chambers, implicated in laundering and concealment, does the same. Steve Chambers, identified as the main leader, ultimately faces a heavy sentence. The sentences are handed down. Several years in prison for each, more for Steve, fewer for Kelly, plus mandatory financial restitution. This is where the unexpected good ending lies. About 95% of the $17.3 million is recovered. The bags of cash re-emerge from storage units, houses, safes. Cars, jewelry, and properties bought with the stolen money are seized. Loomis Fargo limits its net loss, even though part of the sum has disappeared, squandered. For the company, the affair is a public shock, but also an opportunity for a thorough overhaul. Procedures for accessing safes are tightened, internal surveillance is reinforced, and cross-checks are expanded. For David, the ending is much harsher. What he discovers upon leaving prison after serving his years has nothing to do with the scenario he had in mind when he was loading the bags. There is no hidden fortune waiting. There is no Mexican refuge to return to. There is only his name attached to one of the biggest cash robberies in the United States, a moral and financial debt, and a life to rebuild without the money that was supposed to fix everything. What he believed to be true, that a perfect heist could pull him out of his situation, collapses entirely. What remains is a narrower reality. A legal case being studied, a story turned into a comedy film, and him, reduced to the role of example. So, Faced with this story that ends well for the money, for the system, but not for those who thought they could steal it, one brutal question remains. In a robbery where almost all the money comes back, who really got robbed? An empty storage unit, a metal box with scratched walls, no bags, no bins, only a lighter mark on the floor where the money once lay. A bare light bulb sways slightly, casting soft shadows into the corners. At the back, a scrap of Loomis paper band, crumpled, forgotten, still clings to the dust. Outside, an ordinary moving truck closes its doors, with no logo, no guards, in complete silence.